Good evening, lovely people.
Good evening.
And welcome to another Photo Creative Live. This time the challenge was silhouettes. Photo Creative Challenges are projects for photographers to practice their skills with, to hone their abilities. We have the most friendly and creative group on the whole of Facebook, over 4,000 strong now, with photographers of all levels, from complete beginners to some really quite accomplished photographers. The great thing is everybody supports everybody else. If you are a photographer and you would like to join in with a Photo Creative Challenge, please look in the description below where you will find a link where you can get all the information that you need. Also, a big thank you shout out to everybody who has supported these challenges by making donations. Thank you, John, sorry, I know somebody has and I've just covered it over, for your kind support. Don Johansson, thank you for that, my friend. Every little helps, just cover the costs. You can do that by clicking the little dollar symbol underneath this stream if you would like to do so. It is not expected, but it is appreciated. I would also just ask you to please like this live stream because it certainly helps with the algorithm. So I hope everybody is well and happy and has had a fantastic week. Your photographs have been really quite extraordinary. I was completely blown away, and as usual you made the judging extremely difficult. Now I have just come back from, let's make sure I've got all my screens working properly. Something doesn't seem to be working properly. There we go. It is now, I think. Yes, good evening to everybody. I tried to set a countdown live, but hey, I'm not that great at doing that, am I? Something went wrong. It should have started counting down as soon as you went live, so it caught me by surprise. Never mind. Thank you, Susan Firth. Much appreciated. So, little update. I've just had the most magical 4 days in Ireland with Mr. Tim Nicholson, whom I'm sure many of you know because he's been on, I think, every workshop I've ever done, barring Lanzarote. In fact, he's been on Iceland, I think, 3 times now. I'm not entirely sure, but Tim knows Ireland like the back of his hand. And he has been showing me around. And trust me, I have completely fallen in love with the place, despite the fact that it was a bit grey and a bit overcast. I mean, boy, it was fabulous. We were over there researching locations so I can figure out the best way to help you guys who choose to come with me, show you some cool places and really help you grow your skills and your photography and help you think about how to photograph places. But as I say, the weather was pretty moody, but what does that mean? We've got some really cool and interesting moody photographs which came back from it. Also, little bits of miracles and magic. Tim and I went to a location one evening to go and check out the islands in the distance and spotted 3 chairs down on the sea wall. What's going on down there? We went to go and have a look, and it was Cormac Begley and Ye Vagabonds about to do a pop-up gig, which was just magical, being down there listening to this incredible Irish folk music and of course having the opportunity to photograph the gig as it was happening underneath these moody, cloudy skies. It was a totally magical experience. So if you would like to come on that workshop or any others, because we have plenty of them, again, there is a link in the description below. Please go and check them out. Go and see what we've got for you, because I promise you they're a great opportunity to grow your skills and have a great time with some like-minded people. So, what else have I been up to? Oh yes, yesterday I happened to have a magical day doing something I love, doing a PR shoot for the completely awesome business mentor and coach James Aiken Smith. Yeah, it was just great going out and shooting some pictures and having a great day. Just having a great time. You know, here he is in his office. And by the way, don't let anyone ever tell you you shouldn't use a wide angle lens for a portrait. That's the widest angle lens I've got for my Nikon. The thing you have to remember is use that wide angle lens appropriately. Think about how you use it, where you position the subject in the frame so that it doesn't all distort and get bent out of shape. Also, of course, long lenses, because they're not just there for making far off things come closer. Long lenses work incredibly well in a smaller environment too, because you get that shallow depth of field and narrow field of view, so that you can really concentrate on your subjects. Great fun there with James. So silhouettes. Let's talk about silhouette, shall we? Now I can see that one or two of you had a little bit of a struggle, so let me try and sort of give you a little bit of a briefing before we go into the feedback session. The key thing with a silhouette is you need to have a clearly definable subject, something that is really obvious. This is what your picture is about. And you need to align that subject with a very bright background, be that a lamp, a window, a sky, whatever it is. So these guys in the canoes, that wouldn't work if they were on a darker area of the water. In fact, we went over and found them and said, hey guys, we'll give you a couple of dollars. Can you go back out in your boats and just paddle around right in front of where that guy over there is standing, to make sure they were in the right place. This is a staged photograph, but not all are. The key thing is you've got to remember where you position your subject and where you are in relation to your subject. That is very, very important. You don't want too busy a background, or else it gets really, really hard to understand what the picture's about. And then on top of that, you need to think about your exposure. Be in control of it, because there's a good chance your camera's light meter will try and brighten the picture up a bit because it doesn't know that you want it to be dark. So you might need to argue with the camera and set your exposure a little lower than it thinks it should be. You can of course do some things in post-production. This photograph of, I can't remember which temple it is in Cambodia, it's part of the Angkor Wat complex. I think it might be Bayonne, but I could be wrong. This could easily be darkened in post-production to make the temple into a silhouette, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be able to see the cow, the wandering cow. That was the bit which I really liked. And so you couldn't call this shot a silhouette because it's not blacked out. There is still detail in there. We can still see what's going on. But nonetheless, you guys really have done an awesome job. And as I say, I absolutely take my hat off to you for getting out and about, for giving it your best. Let me get my screen sorted out so that we can take a look at your completely splendid photographs. And we'll get stuck in. So here we go. I need to move a couple more things just so I can see your comments, because there's a good chance I may well ask some questions along the way. If you don't get a shout out, if I don't pick on one of your images, please don't take that there's something wrong with your images. There are just too many to deal with, and I always try and choose images that will help the most people in the group, whether they may be beginners or more experienced. Also, when I do give feedback on to an experienced photographer, I can be a bit tough because I'd be a rubbish coach if I didn't push. So what have we got going on here? Let's take a look. First off, David de Genova. Genova, yes, that would be right. I was really drawn to this pretty much straight away because, I mean, you know, who isn't drawn to a silhouette of a saxophone? Absolutely magical. I like your background. I think it's pretty good. And the windows, yes, it's a little bit busy, but the windows work. The thing I would say here, David, is the foliage, the leaves. Now, I know I'm kind of famous for liking to poke a twig or something into the corner of a picture, and I know it drives some of you mad, Irene Carson. However, I think you've got just a little bit too much here. With this one, I think it needs to be a little cleaner. I'm being hard on you, David, because it is otherwise a really great shot. I'm also wondering if you could brighten it up just a touch and still have kept it a silhouette, because if the background was a bit brighter, it would still be a little stronger. Nonetheless, it's a really great effort and it's a lovely picture, and you should be rightly proud of it. Christoph, I'm going to have a little talk about this one because you've put a lot of work into this and I can see that. I really like your composition. You've been so careful with this. Look at these archways. You see how Christophe has very carefully composed it, so each archway, the gap is the same. We've got this human silhouette perfectly framed in this middle archway. Problem, Christophe, is that it's what we were talking about just now. It's just a little bit busy. There's so much going on in the background, and what's happening here is the tower behind is kind of taking over from your subject, that guy standing there. I don't know how long you waited there. If you're here, Christophe, I'd love to know. I don't know how long you were there waiting, hoping someone would be in the right place, or whether you got someone to go and stand there. It doesn't matter either way. But really great effort. I love your composition, the way you've thought about this and really worked at it. What else might have worked with this? Again, I think that arguing with your light meter thing, because it looks to me as though the shadows are so dark, you could have afforded to brighten the picture up a little bit, made it a bit brighter, because then the background might not have been so noisy because it would have been so much brighter. But nonetheless, great job. Great job. Christopher Harrison. I do like this. It's just a lovely, happy, silhouette-y scene, isn't it? But I'm going to suggest much the same thing here. I like your composition. I love the way you got it laid out. I love the boy fishing. I don't know if it's your son, Christopher, or not. By all means, give me a shout if you're there in the chat. I do like the position. I like the way you've composed it. I like the way you've thought about it. Now, I don't know if you're shooting raw here or not. I have a hunch you might be. But if you were, I would suggest, could you bring the contrast up a bit? Maybe brighten it a touch, take the blacks down a bit and the highlights up a bit. It would have given it a lot more punch. But it is still a beautiful composition and a really nice shot. The other thing I would say, if you're not shooting raw, and you don't have to, I am not a raw snob, please believe me. But in your camera you have things called picture control settings. That's what they're called on a Nikon. They have other names on other cameras. But what you can do is go in there and then tell your camera to make your picture a bit more contrasty or a bit less contrasty. And it's always worth having a go at that, just looking into that. Because a bit more punch, a bit more contrast, this would be an absolute cracker. It's a beautiful picture as it is. Beautifully done, Christopher. Let's scroll up a little bit. See what else we got going on here. Now here's one which I totally like from Paul Trively. Now Paul, you're an accomplished photographer, and I think this is such a clever picture because we've got two things going on here at once. We've got the little silhouette shapes down at the bottom of the family having a magical time, but we've also got this powerful thing going on of what they are having a magical time doing. It's not always easy to manage to do this. What Paul has done here is to exploit the light in this aquarium. So you've got the brighter area is where the fish are. The people are in the darker area. So immediately they go over that bright area, then they're going to become silhouettes. Also, I have photographed with Paul. I know what he's like. He's good. I can see how you've waited for that little moment when something's going to happen, you know. Look at the little girl's hand on the glass. Look at the mother with her phone or whatever it is taking a picture. Look at the position of the dad and the daughter. It's just magical, you know. There's something going on all over the place. I do think it is a lovely picture, Paul. But for those of you who are thinking, oh, that was a bit of a struggle, that challenge, these are the sorts of things to look out for. It is circumstance as well as everything else. It's not just camera settings. It's about understanding what will make a silhouette. One of the things that works really well here, of course, is that the correct, in inverted commas, exposure is for the fish in the aquarium, and that has thrown the people into silhouette. Great shot, Paul. I'm sorry I didn't take it further, my friend, but something else got my attention, maybe a little more. Nonetheless, look at all these beautiful pictures. Look at them all. We've got some absolute magic going on here. Look out for miracles and magic. Here we have a Sandra Sim. Look at that. By the way, I don't look at everyone's names when I'm looking at this. It's like I see these names when I click on them. Hi Paul, good to see you here. You're always here, my friend. Sandra, you've got a beautiful silhouette going on here. There is just a little kiss of light down this little boy's arm, which is lovely. But again, you've got the exposure for the bright background, and you've allowed it to be a little bright. Just gone far enough that the silhouette hasn't started to get too much detail in it. And also, of course, that wonderful reflection. It's just a well captured little moment. You've got a fast shutter speed going on there, which has frozen those little raindrops. These are the things that we have to think about, you know. Fast shutter speed, raindrops, drops of water. Fast shutter speed, it will freeze those little drops of water. What exposure shall I use? Very often, it's a case of testing the exposure. It's something that I most certainly do when I'm doing things, is shoot something, have a look at it, check the LCD, check the histogram, because that is a really great way of doing it. And just pop your coat over, get it out of the sunlight, because when you look at an LCD in sunlight, your pupils have got very, very small because of the brightness. But the poor LCD hasn't brightened up to compensate so it can match the sunlight. Therefore, what happens is you look at your screen and the screen will look dark, and you think you've got a dark photo when in fact you haven't. It's your pupils that have got small. These are all the little things to bear in mind. So much of photography happens outside of the camera and inside our hearts and minds, to be honest with you. Beautiful picture, Sandra. I love the way you have got your subject pretty much in the middle, because it's so beautifully balanced with the reflection below. And I think black and white was a great choice as well. It works. It just works. Let's scroll up just a bit further, because I have to, I'm under orders. I have to finish on time tonight, because I have to go and see someone. Now this picture I like a lot. Amiral Anasi. I don't know how I see your name, my friend, and I apologize if I got it wrong, but I think it's just really moody. I like everything about it. I like the bright area, the way you have composed it so that we have got the guy's head kind of at that angle over that brightest area, but there's still enough backlight coming through the drapes, the curtains, that we can see the shape of his body. You've also got these little bits of light just kissing the hands and the arms, which is adding so much to it. You know, it's saying a lot about this guy's body language, the way he's sitting. He's looking really cool, the head on one side. Okay, there's some noise, there's some grain in there. Maybe it was shot on a phone. I don't care. I actually think that noise graininess actually adds something to it in many ways. Shot on film, could be. Yeah, I don't know. Unless, Marcus, you're shooting under an alias. But I do think this is a smash-in picture. I have no complaints at all. Beautiful work, my friend. Here's a good fun one. Phil Saunders Hall. You see what you can do? You know, just fooling around at home. So, you know, Phil, you've done a really nice job. Your exposure's pretty good. I think you, again, could possibly brighten it a bit and made that background a little more poppy, brightened it a bit. But nonetheless, it's still a great picture. I like the way you've set up, you know, the Yoda and I don't know what it is, a Star Wars trooper or something. I'm quite intrigued as well by this sort of semi-vignette you've got going on around the edge here. If you're here, I'd love to know, did you shoot down a tube of card or something like that? What is it you photographed through? Because it is good fun. Also like the way Phil has thought about that background. I like that highlight, that bright bit in the middle there. I'm wondering if you did this backlight with a torch or something. It's quite intriguing. Banging things. I do think it's quite intriguing. Don't think it would have hurt to let that highlight be brighter. Maybe you were worried about burning out the highlight, because there are so many keyboard warriors out there who say, you burnt a highlight, whoa, blah, blah, blah. none of their business. You burn your highlights, mate, because some highlights, they do burn out naturally when we look at things with our eyes. Sparkles on the water, the filament in a light, they burn out, and I don't think it matters. Something which might have helped you though, Phil, I don't know, could you position this brightest area here behind either the trooper's head or behind Yoda, because I think it would give us somewhere closer to look. And I get it, maybe you like it there because it's a bit of a star thing going on in the background. Either way, all shot through a tube. Hey Phil, good to see you, my friend. All shot through a tube. I knew you'd done something, you'd photographed through something. It's just so cool. Love that creative thinking. Nice one, Phil. Let's have a little look. Where are we? Okay, where are we? Oh, we're good, we're good. There are some beautiful pictures in here. There really are. Who's this? Moira Smith. I mean, who can not like that picture? Moira, it's really nice. And again, we've kind of got this combination of the light just catching something and the silhouette going on in the middle. The subject, of course, is again against the brightest part of the picture, and we are always drawn to a human shape. So yeah, great job, Moira. You've got your exposure spot on. I like the positioning. I like the way the clouds kind of mirror the shape of the paraglider, parachutey bit, whatever it's called. I think you did a good job in organising those clouds the way in which you did. Perfect exposure. You couldn't go much brighter because then you would have some weird looking burnout on those clouds. But it's beautifully done. Moira, if you're here, I'd love to know, were you paragliding too, or whatever it's called, or motor gliding or something? Or were you in an aircraft, or what was going on here? I'd love to know how you got in position to get this shot. Were you on a mountain and somebody came past? Either way, I think it's a beautiful picture. I'll just keep half an eye down there for you in case you're here. I'd love to know how you did it. Sharon Gregg. I get where you're going with this, Sharon, and I think you had a little bit of a struggle in making the silhouette part work, didn't you? And I think it's because the background tones and the foreground tones, they're very similar. It's a really nicely composed picture. I'm not knocking the picture, please, I'm not. I rather like it, and I always like the light coming towards the camera, but the silhouette part hasn't worked. And it's because your background isn't bright enough. If you'd got a brighter background, it might have done. It probably would have done. But then I don't know, would we have seen what was going on? Would we have understood the silhouette? I think we probably would have done. Possibly later in the day, maybe if you had managed to get the sun sort of right behind the helmet or right behind the gun part, you may have been able to sort of allow it to become more silhouette-y. But I think the problem here is your tones are all matching. But I do like your composition, and your exposure is very good. It's just that it hasn't worked as a silhouette. I hope that's helpful, Sharon. What else? We've got a lovely, I'm going to have to move on a bit, people, even though I kind of want to hang around longer. Neil Letournier. This is good fun, Neil. It really is. And I'm kind of intrigued. So what have we got here? It's something shiny, isn't it? If you're here, Neil, I'd love to know how you've done it. But the exposure is spot on. You've got your subject against the brightest part of the picture, and therefore you can throw it into silhouette. This is, of course, the key. The dinosaur works with the palm tree over there. We've got a sunset and a bright area in the sky. The reflection, did you put this on the roof of your car? Is that a shiny car roof we're looking at here? It could be a mirror. I have a hunch it's a shiny car roof. I'm not sure. If you're here, Neil, we would love to know. But again, sometimes you can do the exposure for a shot like this and the camera just gets it right on its own. Sometimes not. Sometimes you do have to argue with the camera and adjust the exposure. You can do that either if you're shooting manually. You can either do it by lowering the ISO, making the aperture smaller, or the shutter speed faster. If you're in P or semi-auto mode, You've got a little thing called exposure compensation, usually has a plus and a minus on the button, and that will allow you to say to the camera, make this brighter or make this darker. You can always be in control. Great shot, Neil. Haven't heard from you. I'm still going to play the hunch that it's the roof of a car, shiny car. Either way. Glyn Haskins. This, my friend, is a beautiful picture. I like it. And strangely enough, a really awesome photographer I know from the Exposure Photography Festival. He's just done a whole exhibition on wilted flowers and things like that, and it was breathtaking to look at. I like the way you've set this up. I like the colours. Your exposure's good, but again, it's not actually a silhouette, Glyn. Silhouette, we need it to be just a black outline, ideally. It can be supported by other things, but it's the black outline that we're looking for. But I like your composition. I like the way you've worked with the background, the way you've thought of a way to do something. Had you managed to make the background brighter, you could have then got that silhouette effect. I'm not sure it would have worked with this subject. Would it have made sense? It might have been a bit busy if we didn't have the colour and the detail to guide us. I hope that helped, Glyn. I know who took that. Wendy Lamb. You were standing next to me when you took it. This was on the recent Zurich workshop. So Wendy, okay, yeah, you've got some nice silhouettes, and yeah, you've got that highlight coming down the path. I shot a few pictures here as well while we were doing it. So your exposure is pretty good. I like the way that's worked. Letting the background go bright, not a problem. Thing is, Wendy, you've got just a few too many people in the foreground. I think if you could have managed it so there was one person on this light path coming up through the middle without these guys either side, it might have worked a bit better. Maybe someone just doing something somewhere in the background. But good effort, because I remember when we were there doing that and you were struggling with it a little bit. So good on you. Well done. Well done for entering. And well done for being in Zurich too. That was an awesome workshop. Despite the fact that one was quite rainy and cloudy, actually it was one of the best. We got some amazing results. Who else have we got here? Let's have a look here. Irene Carson. Oh yes, I remember now when I was going through these the other day, because this really caught my notice, caught my attention. You've got a great moody silhouette-y picture here. You know, and Irene, you're good at this. No question. I like the time of day you've shot. It's quite brave, because you've got those moody clouds, a little bit of colour from a sunset, something like that. I like those little human figures in the basket of the Ferris wheel. Also really like that we've got those few little coloured fairy lights coming on across the wheel. The composition, I think, is awesome, because we don't need to see the whole wheel to know it's a wheel. The fact that you've zoomed in a little bit or cropped, whatever you've done, doesn't really matter. And just taken the top and bottom off, so we've got those two lines coming up through the shot. It really, really works beautifully. What would be my coaching to you, Irene? I don't know. Maybe, again, I think you've got so much darkness in the subject. Maybe you could have upped the exposure just a bit. And if I remember correctly, Irene, because I'm sure you're here, I think I saw you earlier. If you shoot raw, I might have been tempted to lift the highlights just a little bit. It would give it a little bit more punch. Either way, great shot, absolute favourite. I agonised over this and many others when I was trying to choose my favourites, because it really isn't an easy task. Yeah, come on then, let's have a quick look at Paul's. The joys of being out in nature. Absolutely. Absolutely. Paul, good on you. You found the situation really, really well. You know, you've got your subjects in front of the brightest part of the image, and therefore you have kind of got the silhouette bit, but we've still got quite a lot of red, and we've got the white of this person's jumper going on here. you could have afforded to take that exposure down really quite a lot. Now I know sparkles on water, they burn out. I've just said so. However, you could have afforded to make that come down quite a lot more, which would have made your silhouette pop quite a bit. Also, Paul, you've got a little bit of camera shake going on here. I'm sure it's camera shake because everything to me looks to be it's a little bit soft. Now, if you'd made your shutter speed a bit faster, that would have made the picture a bit darker, the sparkles a little bit less dominant, and the silhouette stand out more. And it would have given you a faster shutter speed so that you wouldn't be, you know, have that bit of blurriness going on. But good effort and well spotted. You know, it's well put together. You've been thinking about it. I can really see that. And thinking is the key to all of photography. It's these things about understanding that you need a subject over a bright background, understanding how shutter aperture and ISO are best friends and how they dance and play together for creative as well as technical reasons. And you know, that thinking like a photographer. Go and check out my 7 building blocks of photography online course. Again, link in the description to my online courses. Go and have a look at the 7 building blocks. It doesn't talk about cameras and settings. What it does do is it really comes in hard on how to think like a photographer. What are the questions we need to ask ourselves, such as how do I want this picture to look? How will I achieve it? What shutter will that require? What aperture will that require? Where do I need to stand? What focal length do I need to use? It will connect the more technical stuff from masterclass to the creative thinking, which will then, you know, bring things to life. But well done, Paul. Nice one. Good effort. Well spotted. Ooh, my little scroll wheel's not working properly. What else have we got going on here? Where are we? We're only at 1:30. Good. We're doing well. Mary Sue Voth. Let's have a look at this because I think it's a beautiful picture. I do think it's a beautiful picture. You scrounged around your rental apartment. You're in Lyon, France, are you? I'm guessing you're on holiday somewhere. Good on you for entering. How's that for dedication to your photography, you know? Entering a competition whilst you're away. Thank you, Annette. I just saw what you wrote. Entering a competition whilst you're away on holiday. And it is it is a silhouette, isn't it? It's on that borderline, you know. I've just been banging on at people saying, you haven't got a silhouette, you haven't got a silhouette. And now I'm looking at this one. But it does somehow work. Mary Sue, I think you could have probably made it a touch darker. But I love the symmetry and the composition. We have got that very dark silhouette part at the top. I love the background, the way it's sort of fading in and that hard line and those curvy shapes. Really nicely composed. You've worked hard to make sure everything lines up just beautifully. Yeah, great shot, Mary Sue. Great shot. I'm going to scroll up a little bit further. See what else we've got we can have a look at, because look at these pictures. There are so many great pictures. Let's have a quick look here. Randy Weatherly. Similar thing. Congratulations. Good on you, Randy, because again, you've been looking at your surroundings. You've seen that bright background and the guy with the musical stuff sitting in the shade, and you have understood, right, that will make a silhouette. Good on you. You've exposed for the background, which has thrown the musician into silhouette, and I kind of like this person walking through here. Thing is, Randy, it's a little busy, my friend. It's just a little bit busy. The background with the main entrance and the shops and all that stuff, it's just a little bit too much. The heart attack grill going on behind. I would just question, could you have taken a few paces to your right, Randy, and then just silhouetted just this guy, the one with the cello, I think it is, isn't it? Silhouetted the cellist against this piece of shuttering. If you could have moved around and aligned him with that, and then even brightened the exposure a bit, I think that would have really popped, because the uniformity of that shuttering in the background against the curvy shapes of the cello and the musician, it would have been really good and powerful, because we just have a subject and we'd know what's going on, and I think it would have really popped. But good on you there, Randy, because yeah, you spotted something and you gave it a shot and you did your best effort and you got your silhouette out of it. So nice one. If you ever see these guys playing there again, if it's somewhere you pass by, try what I just suggested. Try just honing in on one element of it and just using one element of background. You could possibly have used a red area if you come around to your left a bit. I don't know, but moving your body, the choreography of composition, dancing with your camera to make things line up. What else do we have here? Look, we've got some really cracking things. Some are just so simple and so beautiful. Let's have a look at this one. Becky Shrively Mather. That's a cool name, Becky, and I don't believe we met before. I think you must be fairly new to the group. Good on you for getting stuck straight in because I like this. I think it's a really great picture. We have got some strong silhouette stuff going on here, and it's very, very simple. You've composed it carefully so the lines are nice and straight. We've got the curvy shapes of the bowl. We've got the silhouettes coming from, you know, your implements in the jar on the right, but there's enough light coming through that whisk and just wrapping around it and just tumbling over the top of the flower, putting the shadows on this side, that it makes it interesting. We can see what's going on, but you'd still kind of say it's a silhouette shot. Simple but very effective. I think it's a great picture. You've allowed the background to burn out. I'm guessing you did this for the window. I don't have a problem with that. It's a high key photograph. Great shapes, Nan Kelly. Oh, George just said what I said, simple but effective. Yeah, I think it's a well done photograph. So what more can I say? Exposure's spot on. To the purists who go, you burnt out the background. Well, you know, I'm sorry, but it's everyone else's picture. Sasha John, I like this one. This is another I agonized over, as I did so many, because it's simple and it's intriguing. Albert Schweitzerstrasse. And look at the shadows going on there. Look at the shadow of that ladder. And I love that line coming down. Is this you, Sasha, crouching down, taking the photograph? Is this your shadow? No, it can't be because the angle's wrong. I'm intrigued. If you're here, Sasha, please, please, please let me know. And look at those wonderful textures in that, I don't know what you call it, rendered wall in the background. It's a really cool picture. It's just the sort of thing that I like because I find it intriguing. It's not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm not saying it should be, and I'm not saying I am right by a long stretch of the imagination. But I do think it is a highly intriguing and interesting photograph. Yeah, it can't be Sasha's shadow. It can't be because the angle's wrong. For it to be Sasha's shadow, he would have to be so far over to one side that I don't know. I'm confused. I don't care. It's a great picture. Nice one, Sasha. I haven't seen you in the chat, so I'm guessing you're not here, my friend. Let's scroll up just a little further and see what else we have got going on. Now this one here is Chris Kemp Renninger. You've worked hard on this one too, Chris. Look how Chris has got that starburst of the sun just kissing the top of the flower of the daffodil. So how do we do that? We move our bodies, don't we? You've got to bend your knees, line things up, get things in the right place. Chris has used a very small aperture. This is the thinking part of the photography in order to get a starburst. And you have just about managed to get the silhouette part. Not easy to silhouette a daffodil against a starburst because the daffodil's translucent, the light comes through it and it wakes it up. But nonetheless, there is a lot of silhouette-y goodness going on in there. Yeah, I think it's a great shot. And I quite like the negative space at the top as well, the way the sky bleeds off into darkness because Sasha's pulled that exposure. Sorry, Chris has pulled that exposure way down. I hope this is helping, guys. You guys were puzzling over this a bit. This is why I talk about these things, because with a bit of luck it will give you some more insights into how these things fit together. Or go and take a look at once you understand the camera. That's the key. Once you understand the camera, then you can move on to the more creative stuff. Susie Natman, another great I love your composition. I just love those trees. And again, look at this. We've got a subject against a really bright background. Therefore, it's really, really easy to make a silhouette. And I like the fact you've got a couple of people walking through there. It always helps. What more can I say? How could I give you some coaching? Susie, the only thing I could say is, if you're going to shoot something like this, particularly when someone's on the move, use burst mode. Because I think if these two were just half a pace further forward, or possibly in this little area here, just before where it says Grand Parade, they would have stood out more because their silhouette wouldn't be overlapping the silhouette of the bushes behind them. Burst mode is your friend when you're doing these things, because instead of trying to time it with your finger, you can just, and you know, a couple of quick taps out of a few bursts and you will get them in the right place. The pictures I showed you earlier from the PR shoot, like the guy, you know, when James was walking down the beach, for example, I was shooting in burst mode purely because, you know, Sod's Law says you're going to get a blink or a sneeze or something, or just that moment when you sort of, they pull a face. Burst mode is your friend when you're doing things like this. But yeah, great shot, Susie. I also like the use of black and white and how you have, you know, made it into a panoramic. I think it's really cool. Now this is a really, who did this? Annette Vorm. Hello Annette again. Isn't that a cool silhouette? Now that is a really clever silhouette. So Annette has backlit the I guess it's a dandelion clock or something, I don't know what it is quite, but by backlighting the subject and really letting the backlight be strong and take the exposure down against a black background, all you are left with is the rim light. Yeah, the light just wrapping around the edges of the subject. It's a really accomplished thing you got there, Annette. But then, hey, you've been around this a long time, and you've been doing it not just because of Photo Creative. You've been doing this stuff, and you know how it works. But also, you see how this rim light is just wrapping around itself, wrapping around this vase at the bottom. It's just really beautiful little bit of light. I don't think I've seen a silhouette shot against a black background before, so that's a bit of a first. Nice, exactly, you said that. Michael Isles, nice job, Annette. I think it's a really lovely shot. Really lovely shot. So you guys who might be thinking, what is he talking about? Rim light and backlight and black background with a silhouette on it. It really is. Somehow Annette has got a small light source somewhere hidden, I think, behind that vase. And it's just pushing light from behind, like from back here, woof, straight towards it. And it's quite bright. And she's probably pulled the exposure down a bit. I'm guessing here, Annette, I'm sure will tell you in the group, on the Facebook group, if you ask. But by pulling that exposure down a bit, the rim light is all that's left, and that's what causes that little white halo. Beautiful job. Beautiful shot. What else? How are we doing for time? We're all right. We're all right. I'm on target for once. Marcus Dreschler. Marcus Dreschler. I hope I got your name right there, Marcus. I kind of like this one too because we got the silhouette of the surfer. It could be a little darker, Marcus. It also looks to me there's a little bit of movement blur in there. Slightly faster shutter speed. I was right. Thank you, Annette. Okay, I figured it out. Very accomplished shot, Annette. Sorry, Marcus, I digressed. Something I really do like about this, though, is you've got the thought, you've got the light coming towards the camera. It's highlighting the little droplets of water in the air. I think you could have, again, made your shutter speed a little faster, which would make the whole shot a little darker, which would have had the effect of giving you a faster shutter speed to freeze that motion really, really nicely and made your surfer into a bit more of a silhouette. Now, surfers, they're a pain. They tend to have brightly coloured surfboards, which is always annoying if you want to get a silhouette. However, it is still a great shot. And the thing which really drew me towards it, have any of you guys heard of the green flash sunset on the ocean? Occasionally, very rarely, you get a green flash. And it is when you get the blue of the water rising up, and then the yellow light from the sun coming through the water, and it turns the water green. It doesn't often happen. You get a flash when a wave pops over the sun just as it's setting. And that's pretty much what you've got here. Look at the green water, which is highlighting the surfer, against the blue water, which is surrounding the green. It is really interesting shot. Really interesting, Marcus. Nicely done. No, Michael, I've never seen a green flash myself. I've seen photographs of it by some comrades and colleagues, but I have never seen it in real life for myself. So that was a cool thing. Oh, there's so many pictures I want to talk about, but I'm going to have to just keep strolling on. Lindsay Marcel, I like this. I don't think we've met either, Lindsay. You must be one of the newer members as well. Forgive me if I've got that wrong. I'm getting old. My brain is going a bit funny and I've got a bad hair day. But I love your picture. This is a beautiful silhouette. I love the colours, the bluey purple and the green. They just work so well together. And the way you've photographed up that tube, and you've got, I'm guessing it might be your son, grandson, whatever. I'm not sure. I can't tell from your picture. Son, I'm going to go with. Crouching in the end. It is just a magical little moment. Again, look at the body language. So much of photography is when you click, the moment you click, and being very, very careful with that. And I think you have got it absolutely spot on here. Yeah, Paul just said 007. I totally get that, Paul. Yeah. I think it's a beautiful picture. I really do. I hope you print that and stick it on your wall, because it deserves to be there. You could have possibly taken your exposure down just a hint. This is my coaching, because yeah, there is a lot of burnout around these edges here, which it would probably be better if it wasn't there. I think you'd have still had it bright enough in the background to keep the silhouette at the end of the tunnel. But hey, I know it's a lot to think about, and sometimes these opportunities don't come twice. So great job, Lindsay. Beautiful picture. Let's scroll up slowly, and there's a couple of pictures that I know I want to look out for. Oh, it's you. Sorry, Cheyenne, and I can never remember what your real name is. I didn't mean to say, oh, it's you, like that. But this is really rather lovely too. I'm guessing you've got, this is a reflection, isn't it? This is a reflection straight into, right, okay, here we go. I've just seen your comment. Look at all these clever, creative ideas, people. Take them away. Go and play with them yourselves, because this is one of the values of our photo creative group. All these people having all these different ideas. On a lot of the workshops, we play a game called Photo Twister, where I put everyone into a confined space, and you have something like 3 minutes to see how many photographs you can take from within that space. It's like on Lanzarote workshop, there's some white steps in the town centre. Everybody's crammed on there, so everybody is in the same place, and it is amazing what all of us see, how we see things differently, and we can take those ideas. Peer-to-peer learning, it is so, so powerful. That is one of the great things with our group, I think. Beautiful picture. I think it is a smashing picture. I love the way you have seen that and captured it, and again the way you have aligned the reflection with the brightest part of the picture. This is how we make a silhouette. Beautiful job. Let's scroll up and keep going. Oh, there's so many I want to talk about because they're just awesome. I'm also checking on my little list over here to make sure I don't do what I've done a couple of times and pick the wrong ones. I can't let that go. Who's that? Craig Chambers. Doesn't it just make you happy? Doesn't it just make you happy? Beautiful picture, Craig. Again, subject against the brightest part of the picture. Again, I think you could have probably pulled that exposure down a little further. You'd have made the sky stronger, a little bit more pop to it, and you know, you'd have made your silhouette even darker, but you can't always do that. I really like your composition. And I also like the fact you're shooting on a very wide angle lens, Craig. It gives it that feeling of intimacy. I'm sure everyone here, just put why if you're getting the feeling that you really are very close to this child. This little boy is literally running over to you. You could almost reach out your arm and go, hey mate, and give him a hug or whatever. Just put a why in the comments if you get that, if you see that. That is one of the things about choosing your focal length rather than simply zooming in and out. Because when you choose your focal length for its visual properties, its creative properties, that's when you start to get these feelings. So a wide angle lens has that intimate up close feeling. The portrait of James Aiken Smith from the introduction when I was talking about that photo shoot I did, it has the feeling that you are sitting at the table with James, because I shot it on a very wide angle lens in order to get that feeling. The other one where James was looking over the guy's shoulder at a computer screen, that was more voyeuristic because it was shot with a longer lens. Okay, it narrows the field of view and all that stuff. But so what Craig's got here is with a wide angle lens. I don't know, it might have been done on a phone. Phones have wide angle lenses, it might be done on a camera, doesn't matter. But it's got that intimate feeling to the picture, to the image. We're really up close. Nicely done, Craig. Nice shot, nice picture. So people, you know, remember, if you're thinking about, you know, well, how do I make a picture that looks like that? Remember that your focal length is important. Choosing a focal length for the picture rather than merely zooming in and out and hoping. Oh, so many things I want to click on here, but we're at 10:02, so I'm gonna let's just enjoy these as we move up, because there are some lovely pictures in here. This one here I like, Hervé. Hervé, I've got to give you a shout on this one because I think this is another really beautifully captured silhouette. Okay, I was going to say, I bet you had to wait a while. I've just seen your comment. Yeah. So Hervé has seen this location, has seen this pool of light. This is where photography is holistic. It's about everything that's going on around us. It's not that gadget in your hand. That is the artist's paintbrush, but it's the artist's vision, creativity that makes the picture. So Hervé has seen the pool of light, has seen the possibilities and thought, there's a composition. We've got dreamland and we've got that colourful stuff in the background. What we now need to add is two people or a person or something happening in that space. And as he said in his comment, he had to wait quite a long time before it happened, but it paid off. It's way better to come home with a handful of pictures. There's just a handful of pictures, and rather than loads and loads that didn't quite work. Nice job, Hervé. What else have we got? There is a picture I particularly want to have a look at, and we're running low on time, so I'm going to see if I can find it. I think I've gone past it. I have. So bear with me, people. You just enjoy looking at these. I'm struggling. There's so many pictures that it's difficult to find specific ones when you're looking for a specific picture. But I do have a reason for doing this. Bear with me just one moment. Let's see, where is that? I can't find it. This is so embarrassing. Forgive the long silence. I'm determined to find it, because this photographer really deserves a shout out. I think it's because of probably my dyslexia, but it just takes me a long time scanning each picture one at a time before I can find what I'm looking for. And I'm really struggling to find it. There it is. There it is. I want to give this photographer a shout out. Ava Marie, you're 6 years old and you're taking your camera out into the world and taking pictures. Ava's dad, Kenneth, has been posting for Ava, and I didn't know this until tonight. And then when I saw this picture, I'd already kind of earmarked it as one, oh, I'd like to say a few words about that. And now I know that you took it, Ava, and you're 6. I absolutely give you a high five. Because look, you have seen a silhouette, you have seen the situation, right? You've got trees against a bright background, and you've captured a silhouette. And not only that, you've kind of composed it really rather nicely. I like the way you've got the 3 trees and just a little bit in the corner going on here. And that really works well. And if you ask your dad nicely, he might show you how you can make your picture a bit darker, and then the sky would get really, really colourful. I think you've done a really great job. It's a shame that car decided to come along and spoil it for you, but that's not your fault. So yeah, big high five, Ava. You keep going, because, you know, I wish I'd picked up a camera when I was 6, because hey, I might be better at it now. But yeah, I really wanted to give you a shout out. Good on you, and I look forward to seeing what you've got next time. So I think we now need to move on to the ones that I chose. I apologise if I haven't given you anyone else a shout out. There are so many cool pictures. Who's this? I'm just going to do that. Steve Jones, look at this. Oh, I can't help it. I just think, look how you've seen that. The traffic light and the sun and the silhouette of the trees. It's just marvellous. I can't help it. This is such fun. Neil Zedlav. Okay, it's not just a true silhouette, but the silhouette part is the funnest part, which is of course your lighting man in the corner there. I think it's absolutely great. There are many, many good pictures here, and what can I say other than thank you all so much for joining in. Now please bear with me just a moment, because that wasn't meant to happen. Right, there you go. You can see what I'm trying to operate on my screen. I have to operate this piece of software as we are doing it. Hang on, you're not allowed to see that for a particular reason. Bear with me. Right. I think we're nearly ready. It just takes a minute to set these up. Okay, so here are my kind of favourites, if you like, the ones that jumped out at me the most. Carialas. I mean, this is the epitome of silhouette, isn't it? This is the epitome of good old-fashioned, old-school silhouette. We've got a very, very black shape, which is clearly defined. We know exactly what this is. It's very artistic. Black and red. Black and red, they're best mates. They always work very, very well together. And so what Curry has got here, of course, is a fairly brightish red background with the silhouette of, I don't know, Curry, are you here? Is this a selfie? Is this something you've done yourself? Did you photograph someone? I'd love to know how you did it. But it just jumped out at me, and I just thought we've got to say something about it, because it is the classic silhouette, and it is really nicely done. What more can I say? It's your daughter. Okay, really lovely picture, Carrie. Get it printed, put it on the wall. Everybody, get your pictures printed and put them on the wall. Favourites change, yeah? Get your favourite picture that you have taken and get it printed and stick it on the wall. You only need to buy 1 frame, because you can change it. When you're bored with the one that's there, get a print done. It's not that expensive anymore. You can get a print done, change the picture. And I think that will work with our next challenge, which I'm going to say a few words about at the end. Nonetheless, let's move on to the next. Okay, this is one of our long-time regulars, but it's just a beautiful silhouette. I love that, Jane. Look what Jane has spotted. We got the boat and a pool of light on the wet mud. By positioning herself so that the boat lines up, everything lines up, the sun is right above the boat, so therefore the pool of light, that light path, is on the boat. Now if Jane was to the right, the pool of light wouldn't be on the boat, it would be to the right. If she was to the left, it would be on the left side of the boat. This is all about moving ourselves around, people, because when you move your body, the world moves with you. That was very, very profound, wasn't it? But it is a beautiful, stunning image, Jane, and you know, print it and put it on your wall. Everybody print your pictures and put them on the wall. This is why this one works. So Jane's got the exposure down fairly low. We've got a bit of detail in the sky. It's a hazy sky, which is great. The boat is an absolute silhouette and it's occupying this little bright pool, so it bang grabs our attention. Look how the horizon is perfectly level. Always remember to look at the whole picture, not just the subject. It's really easy because in day-to-day life our brains filter out noise and backgrounds. But when we are creating a photograph, we've got to look at everything. We've got to look behind the subject, look in the corners, see what's going on everywhere else. As well as, of course, think about shutters and apertures and ISOs and focal lengths. But hey, there's only 5 things on the camera you've got to think about. And once you've mastered those, you're good. My masterclass online course, go do it. And if you've done it and you still haven't mastered it, do the exercises and keep doing them till you're really sick of it. Beautiful picture. Congratulations, Jane. Okay, this is one which I really, really liked as well, which I, of course, had to pick out. From John Arnikajvik. It is just a smashing classical silhouette, you know. Now John, I don't know, I'm guessing you maybe waited a while because we've got all those heads of these are they geese? I'm not quite sure, and I can't read what's on my screen right in front of me, it's too small. But seeing that little forest of heads and then waiting for these moments when the birds would lift off, when they would fly, when they would take off, when something would happen in the space against that bright sky. And it could be so frustrating for a photographer when you're waiting for the moment and the sky's darkening and darkening and thinking, no, not yet, something needs to happen. But yeah, it's a cracking picture, John. Something else I'm just going to say, and this is not a criticism in any way, but there is another picture inside this which I think is absolutely pumping. I doubt that you could have got it, and I doubt you could crop in that hard. But look at that one bird that is turned absolutely side on. If it was just like, if we didn't have the birds at the top, and I'm not saying you should have done this, get something, come on, we're going to do the hand thing, guys, get something. And let's just take off the birds at the top, so it's just the ones at the bottom, and then we need to take out to the left. Do you know what I mean? If you just crop in just on that one bird with a little bit of space around it, needs some negative space, I think that's really powerful. I like it either way. I'm just saying there is another picture inside there as well. Beautifully done, beautifully done. And this one immediately grabbed my attention because I find it intriguing. And I think it is the epitome of silhouette again. Marcus Allen. I just think that is a cracking picture. That is a picture I'd put on my wall, certainly. I just think it's intriguing and it's arty and it's minimalist and it's quiet. Look how Marcus has used all that negative space, used all those clouds. The picture is of the clouds and the interruptions of the silhouette, but the interruptions are very, very powerful, and therefore we grab them. So I don't know, I'd love to know, Marcus, if you're here, was it a case of you saw that the pole and the plants? I'm not sure. Let me just enlarge this on my other screen so I can see it better. Did you see, like, you know, the pole which has no wires on it? Maybe you took the wires out, I don't know, and then wait to see what would happen. Was it originally a shot of the pole and the plant and then you got a bird come into it? I am just fascinated by that. But either way, I just think it is a great picture. There's a bit of a bird fan club going on here tonight. I can see this. I'm not going to hang around, Marcus. If you're not here, you're not here, but I must move on. But nonetheless, I think it's a great picture. I think the choice of black and white works really, really well. We've got these gorgeous clouds. Well spotted indeed. I think it is absolutely cracking. So, and of course another totally classical silhouette shot and beautifully executed from Linda O'Neill. You know, it really is the classic beautiful lone tree with the lone walker and the lone dog. Do you know what? I live in a forest, and I can't find any lone trees anywhere. Well, it's a forest, isn't it? But I just think it is absolutely beautiful. It's been caught at just the right moment. The sky is still bright enough and powerful enough that Linda could bring that exposure down so that the silhouette was absolutely perfect, full on hardcore black. It is a beautiful shape. And that little human figures, they always draw our attention. We always look at human beings. It's ancestral. It's something from our caveman days. What more can I say? It is beautifully composed. I love the gaps. Look at the gaps either side, the tree, the distance between the man and the side, the tree and the left side. Everything is nicely lined up. The horizon's nice and level. This is that thing about looking at the whole picture, not just the subject. Beautifully done, Linda. Beautifully done. So now we come to the one which, I just kept coming back to it. It's the one over and over again. I kept coming back to going, yeah, I just don't know. I keep going back to it. And I think it's absolutely great. And it's from Carl Spitzer. I just think it is a really cracking, simple, powerful silhouette which still has a bit of playful colour going on in it. And it's another one, the many we've seen tonight, that I would happily put on my wall. I think it's a cracking picture. So the angle of Carl's juggler happens to be just right, just at the right angle that the juggler really is in silhouette. And I guess there's that moment when the juggler's hand has just moved slightly to the right and the sun has just caught from behind and put that rim light onto the hand, onto the thumb. And it's also, of course, where the batons are, the juggling batons. They're in the air. They're not in his shadow. He is standing in his own shadow. That is why he is a silhouette. The batons are just slightly at an angle, and they're, again, catching the light just gently. They're quite dark, but it works. Now, I seem to recall, have I looked at your comment? I'm going to have a quick look at your thing. Okay, right. Thank you, young Billy, for helping me create this image. He was juggling on stilts. Right, okay, that explains the angle. I was thinking now, Carl had been down on his hands and knees or laying on his back to get the angle, but the guy's on stilts. Great. And it just works so well with that diagonal line with those clouds running through it. I think it is a really cracking shot. I think you guys are awesome, all of you. From, you know, those of you who are starting out at the beginning of your journeys to those of you who are really accomplished. And it's great. You guys who are accomplished, you are giving inspiration to those who are a little bit earlier in their journey. So please keep them coming. And you guys who are early in the journey, just keep doing it. Because, you know, we all watch things online. We watch videos, we read things, and we want certainty that we're going to get it right. The way we get things right is by getting them wrong many, many, many times. If you think about everything in life, we have all of us been wrong far more often than we've been right. Not just photography, in our opinions, in our thoughts, in our everything. We have been wrong far more than we have ever been right. Bear that in mind and don't be afraid. Get stuck in. Give it a go. Now, the next challenge will be live shortly after I kill this live stream. The next one's a bit different. I don't think we've done this ever before. So make sure you click the link. I will put a link onto the Facebook group. There is a link to the page in the description below this live stream as well, where you will find out what the next challenge is. But you need to give me about 10 minutes to get that live before it is there. So anyway, it's a different one, this one. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will, and I'm hoping to see your best work. I want to find out a bit about you in this one, because I'm giving you a lot of freedom. Be well, people. Thank you again for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege. I look forward to next time, and stay well. I'll see you again soon.